Abstract, drawing on large-scale empirical evidence from Kai et al. 2025, who analyzed 6.5 million Chinese firm registrations alongside generative AI usage patterns from 2019 to 2023. This article examines how Gen AI is fundamentally reshaping entrepreneurship by lowering barriers to venture creation. The study reveals that neighborhoods with higher concentrations of AI expertise experience approximately 30% increases in firm entry rates, with new ventures demonstrating markedly different characteristics: lower capital intensity, smaller founding teams, and faster time to market. These AI enabled ventures emerge disproportionately in knowledge intensive sectors and exhibit greater early stage resilience. For business leaders, investors, and policymakers, these findings signal both opportunity and disruption. This article translates the academic evidence into actionable insights, exploring organizational responses across capability building, financing models, regulatory frameworks, and ecosystem development. As Gen AI transitions from experimental technology to entrepreneurial infrastructure, understanding these dynamics becomes essential for fostering innovation while managing distributional consequences and maintaining competitive vitality across regions and sectors. Technological breakthroughs have long fueled entrepreneurship through Schumpeterian creative destruction, transforming innovations into new firms and markets. The personal computer spawned Microsoft and Apple. The internet's commercialization birthed Google, Amazon, and Facebook. Yet measuring the causal impact of such technological shifts on startup activity has historically proven difficult due to slow, endogenous diffusion patterns. The November 2022 release of ChatGPT offers a stark contrast: an unprecedented, largely unanticipated global shock that reached approximately 100 million monthly active users within 2 months, outpacing TikTok, 9 months, and Instagram, 2.5 years, by orders of magnitude. Unlike prior automation waves confined to routine manual tasks or narrow technical domains, generative AI, Gen AI, combines broad task generality with accessible natural language interfaces. ChatGPT and similar large language models automate sophisticated information processing, reasoning, synthesis, coding, content generation, alongside creative and managerial functions once requiring specialized labor or substantial capital. This accessibility potentially redefines entrepreneurial economics. Founding teams can now substitute AI capabilities for early stage employees, compress fixed costs, and operate viable businesses at scales previously unattainable. AI native ventures such as Midjourney, visual generation, Cursor, AI powered development, and Perplexity, conversational search, exemplify this shift, achieving rapid growth with minimal staff and modest capital by embedding generative models directly into core workflows. Against this backdrop, fundamental questions emerge. Does Gen AI diffusion meaningfully increase firm creation? Through which mechanisms? And who benefits most? While existing research demonstrates that AI adopting incumbents experience productivity gains, sales growth, and higher market valuations, the impact on market entry, a primary engine of creative destruction, job creation, and resource reallocation, remains unexplored. Moreover, the net effect is theoretically ambiguous. Gen AI could strengthen market concentration by favoring resource rich incumbents, or it could democratize entrepreneurship by lowering barriers for small, inexperienced founders. This study addresses these questions by exploiting ChatGPT's release as a sharp temporal shock and leveraging fine grained spatial variation in pre existing AI specific human capital across China. The empirical strategy combines two comprehensive datasets: Universal Firm Registration Records, covering over 12 million newly established firms from 2021 to 2024, and Roman 2, the complete set of AI invention patents, filed between 2010 to 2019, geocoded to hexagonal grid cells at approximately 5 square kilometers resolution. This design compares changes in firm formation before and after ChatGPT's release between neighboring grid cells within the same city that differ in pre-2020 AI patenting intensity, a proxy for localized AI-relevant expertise. By absorbing both grid-specific seasonality and all city-level time-varying factors, policies, economic shocks, infrastructure, identification arises exclusively from within-city cross-grid variation in AI human capital. Why China? China provides an ideal empirical context for several reasons. First, it is a major AI innovation hub, ranking second globally in AI research output and patent filings. Second, it maintains universal, high resolution administrative firm registration data with detailed founding characteristics, registered capital, shareholder composition, executive team structure, industry classification. Third, the ChatGPT shock transmitted rapidly. Although the platform itself was officially inaccessible in mainland China, technological and informational spillovers occurred immediately through media coverage, API integrations, and domestic substitutes. Baidu's ErnieBot, Alibaba's Qwen, Zhaipu's ChatGLM, and DeepSeek. Within months, Chinese firms, developers, and entrepreneurs accessed Gen AI capabilities through proxies, enterprise accounts, or indigenous platforms, creating a nationwide awareness and adoption shock comparable to the global experience. Key findings. The analysis reveals a pronounced surge in new firm creation, concentrated in high AI grids. Event study estimates show no differential pretrends, supporting causal interpretation. The magnitude is economically substantial. High AI grids recorded roughly 5 additional new firms per grid quarter post-Chat GPT, aggregating to approximately 410,000 additional entries nationwide, about 6% of total firm formation during this period. Critically, this entrepreneurial boom exhibits sharp asymmetry by firm size. The increase is driven entirely by small, resource-constrained ventures, registered capital below RMB 1 million, while large firm entry declines significantly. This pattern suggests Gen AI substantially lowers fixed organizational costs and minimum viable scale, enabling leaner operations with less labor and external finance. Industry heterogeneity reinforces this interpretation. The largest effects arise in AI downstream sectors, retail, business services, digital platforms, where Gen AI tools can be readily applied to product development, customer interaction, and content creation, while traditional capital-intensive industries, construction, manufacturing, show minimal or negative responses. Mechanism tests illuminate how Gen AI relaxes entrepreneurial constraints. Experience substitution. The share of serial entrepreneurs, founders with prior firm creation experience within 3 years, declines sharply in high AI grids post-Chat GPT, indicating Gen AI facilitates entry by first-time founders lacking operational know-how. Financial constraint relaxation. New firms are established with fewer shareholders, reflecting reduced need to pool capital or co-investors at entry. Labor substitution. Founding teams become smaller, consistent with AI automating managerial and specialized roles that previously required hiring. Evidence from repeat founders corroborates this substitution mechanism. Serial entrepreneurs deliberately launch smaller ventures post-Chat GPT, with registered capital averaging 7 times lower than their previous firms in high AI regions. This intentional downsizing underscores that Gen AI not only expands the extensive margin of entry, but also shifts the optimal organizational scale toward leaner structures. Contribution and roadmap. This study makes 3 primary contributions. First, it provides among the first systematic evidence on how a major general-purpose technology breakthrough causally affects real economy entrepreneurship, exploiting ChatGPT's rapid, unanticipated diffusion as a quasi-natural experiment. Second, it demonstrates that Gen AI acts as a pro-competitive force, disproportionately boosting small firm entry rather than reinforcing incumbent dominance, contrary to concerns about AI-driven market concentration. Third, it identifies AI-specific human capital as the critical complementary factor, enabling Gen AI adoption, highlighting technology skill complementarities in shaping real economic impacts. The ChatGPT shock and the rise of Gen AI in China. OpenAI's release of ChatGPT in November 2022 represented a global turning point in generative AI accessibility. Unlike earlier automation confined to coding or data analytics, ChatGPT demonstrated that large language models could perform diverse cognitive tasks: text generation, document drafting, coding assistance, marketing content, customer interaction, at negligible marginal cost via intuitive natural language interfaces. Within months, it surpassed 100 million users worldwide, dominating global media attention and generating an unprecedented awareness shock, that transformed how entrepreneurs perceived the feasibility and cost of launching new ventures. The diffusion effects were particularly visible in China, where major technology firms rapidly accelerated domestic LLM development. Between early 2023 and mid 2024, Baidu launched ErnieBot, Alibaba introduced Tongyi Qianwen, QN, iFlytek released Spark Desk, Tencent rolled out Hunyuan, and Zhaipu AI debuted Chat GLM, alongside DeepSeek. Most systems were released as open source or open weight models, facilitating widespread experimentation. This wave of indigenous innovation coincided with surging public interest, investment, and application development across marketing, e-commerce, education, and professional services. For self-employed individuals and small entrepreneurs, these tools could dramatically reduce startup costs by substituting for specialized labor, designers, coders, translators, and enabling professional-grade outputs without prior technical expertise. Chinese government policy also shifted during 2023 toward integrating Gen AI into broader digital economy and entrepreneurship initiatives. Cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Hangzhou, and Chengdu introduced subsidy schemes for cloud computing, promoted AI plus industry integration, and established public data service platforms to support small firms. These policies reflected a strategic reorientation toward using AI as enabling infrastructure for productivity and cost reduction across all sectors, rather than as a standalone high-tech industry. Collectively, the ChatGPT shock acted as a global productivity catalyst, lowering entry barriers and stimulating new firm creation across sectors and regions. The following sections quantify this effect and examine its mechanisms using comprehensive administrative microdata. Data and measurement. Data sources. Firm registration records. Administrative data from the State Administration for Industry and Commerce, SAIC, provide comprehensive firm-level information for all businesses registered in China, including company name, registered address, legal representative, industry classification, registered capital, registration date, operating status, and detailed shareholder and executive rosters. The sample covers all firms registered between January 2021 and December 2024, excluding individual industrial and commercial households and duplicate entries, yielding 12,820,211 newly established firms. Following China's Company Law, 2014, firms are classified as small if registered capital is below RMB 1 million and large otherwise, producing 5,536,247 small firms and 6,562,515 large firms. AI patent data. Patent records from the China National Intellectual Property Administration, CNIPA, capture invention patents filed between 2010 and 2019. AI-related patents are identified using the AI patent SBERTA model, a transformer-based algorithm pre-trained on U.S. patent documents and fine-tuned on labeled Chinese AI and non-AI patents. This procedure yields 340,771 AI-related invention patents, which serve as the primary measure of local AI innovation intensity and AI-specific human capital. Spatial grid construction. Both firms and patents are geolocated to hexagonal H3 grid cells, resolution 7, approximately 5 square kilometers area, covering mainland China, producing 166,156 unique cells. Firm addresses are geocoded using Baidu Maps, and patent assignee locations are similarly extracted. For each grid G, the total number of AI-related patents filed 2010 to 2019, denoted AI patent, captures pre-chat GPT AI innovation intensity. The resulting grid by quarter panel spans 2021 Q1 to 2024 Q4, enabling consistent analysis of pre-existing AI human capital and subsequent firm formation patterns at fine spatial resolution. Key variables. New firm creation. The primary dependent variable is the number of new firm registrations in each grid quarter, disaggregated by firm size, small versus large, and industry characteristics. AI exposure. The main treatment variable, high AIM, equals 1 if grid G has at least one AI-related patent filed 2010 to 2019, AI patent 0, and 0 otherwise. Under this definition, 6.1% of grids, 10,183 cells, are classified as high AI exposure. Robustness checks employ alternative thresholds, 75th percentile, continuous measures. Entrepreneurial characteristics. To examine mechanisms, several founder level measures are constructed. Serial entrepreneur. Indicator equal to 1 if a firm's legal representative founded at least one other firm in the preceding 3 years. Shareholder count, average number of equity holders per new firm. Executive team size, average number of listed executives per new firm. These variables are aggregated to grid quarter means, allowing analysis of organizational structure at entry. AI relevant scores. To measure industry level exposure, 3 continuous scores are constructed using natural language processing and GPT-4o evaluation of firm business descriptions. AI upstream score, minus 100 to 100. Extent of involvement in upstream AI activities, model development, data infrastructure, computing resources. AI downstream score, minus 100 to 100. Extent of downstream AI applications, product integration, end user services. AI entrepreneurship helpfulness score, minus 100 to 100. Degree to which Gen AI can facilitate core business activities, prototyping, content creation, marketing. Descriptive patterns. Summary statistics reveal substantial spatial heterogeneity. On average, each grid hosts approximately 4.8 new firms per quarter, with 46% classified as small and 54% as large. Prior to 2022 Q4, small firm entry averaged 1.4 to 1.7 per grid quarter, while large firm entry averaged 2.6 to 3.0. Post-Chat GPT, small firm entry surged to 2.5 to 3.2, whereas large firm entry declined to 1.3 to 1.5, indicating a structural compositional shift. Serial entrepreneurs comprise roughly 27% of founders overall, but only 16% among small firms, consistent with greater presence of first-time entrepreneurs in smaller ventures. New firms average 1.5 shareholders, 1.4 among small firms, with individual shareholders accounting for 93% of equity holders. Executive teams average 2 members, with limited variation by firm size. AI PAT distribution is highly right-skewed, mean 2.1, median 0. High AI grids are concentrated in major metropolitan areas, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Hangzhou, Guangzhou, but also exhibit meaningful regional diversification across second and third tier cities. Critically, substantial within-city heterogeneity exists. Even within leading innovation hubs, some neighborhoods exhibit dense AI patenting clusters, while adjacent grids display minimal activity. This fine-grained variation provides the foundation for identification. Empirical strategy. Baseline difference in differences specification. The core identification strategy exploits cross-sectional variation in pre-2020 AI-specific human capital and the sharp temporal shock of ChatGPT's release. The baseline specification is YMT equals beta post X high AIM plus MMXQT plus LC GXD plus epsilon MT, where YMT equals number of newly registered firms in grid G at time T. High AIM equals 1 if grid G has at least one AI patent filed 2010 to 2019, 0 otherwise. Post equals 1 for quarters greater or equal to 2022 Q4, Chat GPT release, 0 otherwise. MMXQ T equals grid by calendar quarter fixed effects, absorbing seasonal patterns and time-invariant grid characteristics. LCGXD equals city by quarter fixed effects, absorbing all time-varying city-level shocks. Policies, economic conditions, infrastructure. Beta equals difference in differences, coefficient measuring, differential firm creation, in high AI grids post-Chat GPT. Standard errors are clustered at the city level. The high-dimensional fixed effect structure ensures identification, arises exclusively from within-city, within-quarter variation across neighboring grids, differing in pre-existing AI exposure. Heterogeneous effects by firm size. To test whether Gen AI disproportionately lowers barriers for small ventures, the specification is extended to separate small and large entrants. YSI letter 1DBB letter 1D49, MT equals BSI, post X high AIM, plus MMXQT plus LC, GXD plus epsilon SI letter 1DBB letter 1D49 MT. Where YSI letter 1DBB letter 1D49 MT denotes the number of new firms in a given size category, small or large. If Gen AI primarily compresses fixed costs or substitutes for managerial labor, we expect beta S letter 1D50, letter 1D43 LL0, and beta L letter 1D43 R letter 1D4D letter 1D49 less or equal to 0. Event study design. To validate parallel pretrends and examine dynamic treatment effects, an event study specification is estimated. YMT equals SK1 beta K1TT0 equals K times high AIM plus gamma M plus LC, G, XD plus epsilon MT, where T0 equals 2022 Q4, reference quarter, and each beta K captures the difference in differences affect K quarters from baseline, relative to K equals -1. Pretreatment coefficients, K0, statistically indistinguishable from 0 support parallel trends. Significant post-treatment effects, K greater or equal to 0, indicate divergence following Gen AI diffusion. Empirical results and mechanisms. Baseline impact on firm creation. Aggregate effects. Table 2 presents baseline difference in differences estimates. Across all specifications, the coefficient on post-X high AI is positive and statistically significant at the 1% level. Column 1 shows that high AI grids experienced approximately 5.04 additional new firms per grid quarter, following ChatGPT's release. SE equals 1.395. Aggregating across 10,183 high AI grids and 8 post-treatment quarters yields roughly 410,000 additional firms, accounting for 6.0% of the 6.87 million total entries nationwide during this period. Asymmetry by firm size. Columns 2 to 3 separate estimates by size. The positive effect is driven entirely by small firms. The coefficient is 7.70, SE equals 1.222, implying approximately 8 additional small firms per high AI grid quarter. Conversely, large firm entry declines by 3.12 firms, SE equals 0.671. This divergence suggests Gen AI tools compress the scale required to operate businesses, enabling founders to enter as smaller, more agile ventures. The decline in large firm entry likely reflects substitution toward leaner organizational forms rather than reduced overall entrepreneurship. Robustness checks Winsorizing dependent variables. Table 3, confirm results are not driven by outliers. Coefficients remain economically sizable, 3.69 to 6.17 for small firms, and statistically significant across specifications. Dynamic effects and parallel trends. Event study estimates, Figure 4, show no evidence of differential pretrends between high and low AI grids prior to 2022 Q4. Post-treatment coefficients turn sharply positive and remain persistently elevated through 2024 Q4, supporting causal interpretation and ruling out anticipation effects. Industry heterogeneity. Sector-specific effects. Table 4 reports industry-specific estimates, ranking sectors by coefficient magnitude. The largest effects appear in retail 1.626, SE equals 0.545. Business services 0.977, SE equals 0.292. Technology promotion and application services 0.871, SE equals 0.232. Wholesale, entertainment, catering, culture, and arts. These commercially oriented, customer-facing sectors exhibit strong positive responses. By contrast, traditional capital-intensive industries, construction, civil engineering, manufacturing, show small or negative effects, indicating Gen AI's entrepreneurial impact operates primarily through demand-side adoption and creative applications rather than production-side automation. AI relevance scores. Table 5 exploits AI upstream, AI downstream, and AI entrepreneurship helpfulness scores constructed from firm business descriptions. The results reveal AI downstream. High downstream firms score 0, show large positive effects, 3.32, SE equals 0.789, while low downstream firms exhibit smaller responses, 1.72, SE equals 0.753. AI upstream. Low upstream firms score less or equal to 0, drive most effects, 4.20, SE equals 1.225, while high upstream firms show modest increases, 0.85, SE equals 0.388. Upstream industries, semiconductors, cloud infrastructure, data centers, remain capital and expertise intensive, limiting new entry despite Gen AI diffusion. AI entrepreneurship helpfulness. High entrepreneurship sectors, score 0, exhibit the strongest response, 5.89, SE equals 1.302, while low entrepreneurship sectors show negative coefficients, 0.85, SE equals 0.300. These patterns reinforce that Gen AI stimulates entrepreneurship, precisely where AI capabilities are most easily integrated into core business activities: digital marketing, software development, content creation, rather than in capital intensive or low complementarity sectors. Mechanisms, experience, financing, and labor constraints. Experience substitution. Table 6 examines changes in the share of serial entrepreneurs, founders with prior firm creation experience within 3 years. The coefficient on post X high AI is 0.41, SE equals 0.201, significant at the 5% level, indicating a 1.5 percentage point decline relative to the pre-chat GPT mean of 27.5%. The effect is concentrated among small firms, minus 2.46, SE equals 0.266, while large firms show a modest positive coefficient, 0.65, SE equals 0.294. This pattern suggests Gen AI lowers barriers associated with prior entrepreneurial experience, enabling first time founders to establish ventures by substituting AI tools for experiential knowledge. Guidance, document drafting, early stage task automation. Financing constraint relaxation. Table 7 examines shareholder composition. Panel A shows new firms in high AI grids are created with fewer shareholders post Chat GPT. The coefficient is 0.02, 1 SE equals 0.007, representing a 1.4% decline relative to the mean of 1.51 shareholders. The effect is present for both small and large firms, consistent with Gen AI, reducing the need to pool capital or recruit co investors at entry. Panel B finds no meaningful change in the share of individual versus corporate shareholders, indicating the reduction reflects broader financial constraint relaxation rather than compositional shifts. Labor substitution. Table 8 analyzes executive team size. The coefficient on post X high AI is 0.016, SE equals 0.004, representing a 0.8% decline relative to the pre-chat GPT mean of 2.03 executives. The effect is concentrated among small firms, 0.019, SE equals 0.004, while large firms show no significant change. These patterns suggest Gen AI substitutes for early stage managerial labor, enabling leaner founding teams, particularly in smaller ventures where cost constraints bind most tightly. Serial entrepreneurs and deliberate downsizing. To directly test whether experienced founders intentionally launch smaller ventures post Gen AI, Table 9 examines serial entrepreneurs' relative firm size. Panel A reports the grid quarter percentage of new firms whose registered capital exceeds the entrepreneur's previous firm. The coefficient on post X high AI is minus 5.42, SE equals 0.483. For small firms, indicating serial entrepreneurs are systematically establishing smaller ventures post Chat GPT in high AI regions. Panel B uses the average capital ratio of new to prior firms as a continuous measure. The coefficient is minus 7.10, SE equals 1.148 for small firms, implying new ventures are approximately 7 times smaller than founders' previous firms in high AI grids post Chat GPT. Even among large firms, the coefficient is negative, 0.18, SE equals 0.023, suggesting deliberate compression in startup scale extends across the size distribution. This evidence confirms that Gen AI not only expands the extensive margin of entry, more first-time founders, but also shifts the intensive margin. Experienced entrepreneurs deliberately choose leaner organizational forms, consistent with AI substituting for labor and compressing minimum viable scale. Building long-term entrepreneurial resilience in the Gen AI era. Recalibrating entrepreneurial ecosystems for AI-native ventures. The empirical evidence demonstrates that Gen AI fundamentally alters the economics of firm creation, enabling smaller, leaner ventures to operate at scales previously requiring larger teams and capital. This shift necessitates recalibrating entrepreneurial support ecosystems, incubators, accelerators, venture financing, to accommodate AI native organizational forms. Lean venture models. Traditional early stage support programs often emphasize team assembly, hiring, and scaling operational capacity. Gen AI enabled firms may instead require guidance on prompt engineering, model selection, API integration, and ethical AI deployment. Incubators should adapt curricula to focus on AI augmented workflows rather than conventional headcount expansion. Financing recalibration. The decline in shareholder numbers and capital requirements suggests traditional equity financing may become less critical for early stage Gen AI ventures. Alternative models, revenue based financing, API credits, compute subsidies, may better align with capital light AI native startups. Policymakers and investors should explore flexible financing structures tailored to ventures with minimal labor costs, but potentially high compute expenses. Distributed expertise and remote collaboration. Gen AI's accessibility via natural language interfaces democratizes participation from geographically dispersed founders. Policy interventions should prioritize digital infrastructure, broadband, cloud access, and digital literacy over place based physical incubators, enabling first time entrepreneurs in lower tier cities to access AI capabilities without relocating to innovation hubs. Cultivating AI specific human capital. The concentration of entrepreneurial responses in high AI grids underscores the critical role of AI relevant expertise. Regions lacking pre existing AI human capital risk falling behind as Gen AI diffuses. Upskilling initiatives. Governments and educational institutions should invest in AI literacy programs targeting potential entrepreneurs, workshops on prompt engineering, no code AI tools, ethical deployment. Unlike traditional technical training requiring extensive programming expertise, Gen AI tools natural language interfaces lower learning curves, making upskilling feasible for broader populations. Public private partnerships. Collaborations between public research institutions, universities, and private AI firms can establish regional AI competence centers, providing subsidized access to compute resources, pre trained models, and technical mentorship. Such initiatives can partially offset spatial inequality in AI exposure. Talent retention and circulation. High AI regions benefit from dense networks of AI researchers, engineers, and entrepreneurs. Policies encouraging talent circulation, visiting scholar programs, remote collaboration platforms, knowledge sharing networks can diffuse AI expertise beyond core innovation hubs. Ethical guardrails and responsible innovation. Gen AI's democratizing potential carries risks. Misinformation generation, intellectual property infringement, labor displacement concerns, and biased algorithmic outputs. Building long term entrepreneurial resilience requires embedding ethical considerations into AI native ventures from inception. Transparency and accountability frameworks. Regulatory frameworks should mandate disclosure of AI usage in core business processes, e.g., content generation, customer interaction, to enable consumer choice and accountability. Certification schemes for responsible AI use could differentiate ethical startups in competitive markets. Continuous monitoring and adaptive regulation. Gen AI capabilities evolve rapidly. Static regulations risk obsolescence. Adaptive regulatory models, sandboxes, pilot programs, iterative policy updates enable experimentation while managing downside risks. Data stewardship and privacy. AI native startups often rely on large datasets for fine tuning or retrieval augmented generation. Data governance frameworks ensuring privacy, consent, and equitable access are essential for sustainable Gen AI entrepreneurship. Conclusion. This study provides the first large scale evidence that generative AI substantially increases real economy entrepreneurship, with effects concentrated among small, resource constrained, first time founders. Leveraging comprehensive administrative data on over 12 million Chinese firm registrations and exploiting ChatGPT's November 2022 release as a quasi natural experiment, the analysis reveals that geographic areas with stronger pre existing AI specific human capital experienced approximately 5 additional new firms per grid quarter post Chat GPT, accounting for roughly 6% of national firm entry. Critically, this entrepreneurial boom is driven entirely by small firms, registered capital RMB 1 million, while large firm entry declines, indicating a structural shift toward leaner organizational forms. New ventures exhibit fewer shareholders, smaller executive teams, and reduced reliance on serial entrepreneurs, particularly in AI downstream sectors, retail, business services, digital platforms, where Gen AI tools can be readily integrated. Evidence from repeat founders confirms deliberate downsizing. Experienced entrepreneurs launch systematically smaller ventures post Chat GPT, with registered capital averaging 7 times lower than previous firms in high AI regions. These patterns demonstrate that Gen AI functions as a digital co founder, relaxing three key entrepreneurial constraints. Experience. First time founders lacking operational know how can leverage AI for guidance, document drafting, and task automation. Financing. Reduce need for co investors or extensive capital pooling at entry. Labor. Smaller founding teams enabled by AI substitution for early stage managerial and specialized roles. The concentration of effects in high AI regions underscores the critical role of AI specific human capital as a complementary factor enabling Gen AI adoption. This finding highlights technology skill complementarities in shaping real economic impacts and suggests regions lacking AI expertise risk falling behind as Gen AI diffuses. Implications and future directions. Pro competitive dynamics. Contrary to concerns about AI driven market concentration favoring large incumbents, Gen AI appears to act as a pro competitive force, disproportionately boosting small firm entry. This democratization of entrepreneurship may enhance market dynamism, innovation, and job creation, though long run effects on firm survival, quality, and productivity remain open questions for future research. Policy considerations. The results suggest targeted interventions can amplify Gen AI's democratizing potential. Subsidized access to compute resources and AI tools for first time founders in low AI regions. Upskilling programs emphasizing AI literacy, prompt engineering, and ethical deployment. Adaptive regulatory frameworks balancing innovation incentives with accountability for misinformation, IP infringement, and bias. Research frontiers. Future work should examine long run firm survival and performance. Do AI native startups exhibit different growth trajectories or failure rates? Labor market implications. Does Gen AI driven entrepreneurship offset job displacement in other sectors? Global diffusion. How do institutional contexts, regulatory environments, internet access, AI policy mediate Gen AI's entrepreneurial impact across countries? As Gen AI tools continue to improve and diffuse, understanding their implications for entrepreneurial quality, industrial structure, and inclusive economic growth represents a central frontier for entrepreneurship research and policy.